Calvin Klein officially announced the construction of an integrated campus, which will take place on the 28th of October 2025. And guess who came back to be the center of the universe in it? Yes, Jungkook, but something was different this time. The campaign is touted as the biggest, most ambitious, and most secretive in modern Calvin Klein history. All provided neat part of a cinematic project of global scale. Calvin Klein's official website gave only one sentence that made the whole fandom and fashion world go crazy. A new era begins, October 28th. This is the moment where the world knows something big is happening. Rumors spread quickly. Some say that this is a form of renewal of the artistic direction. Calvin Klein, after 3 decades of moving on the classic minimalist aesthetic. There are also those who believe that this is the first step towards the digital era of fashion experience, where Calvin Klein will present an interactive experience embodying reality and a virtual world with Jungkook as its axis. And if you've loved the patterns of previous spring seasons, from spring icons to reimagined jeans, Calvin Klein has always known how to play down the mindset of the public. But this time, the atmosphere was much grander, more cinematic, and more personal. Maybe because they know, maybe Jungkook isn't just a face selling clothes. He has become a symbol of so-called modern Calvinism, a simple, authentic, but global philosophy of life. And behind all that, there's the big question. Why did Calvin Klein choose to do this major update at the end of 2025? Is this a sign that the brand is preparing for a new direction under the pressure of a global market that is beginning to change dramatically? Or maybe this is a strategic move to make Jungkook not just a fashion icon, but the face of Calvin Klein's new identity. This narrative will take you back behind the scenes of this one global phenomenon, from boardrooms in Manhattan to secret plantation studios in Seoul, from digital marketing strategies that still exist to small gestures that may become big decisions about the future of the fashion industry. Because in the end, this story is not just about clothes, but about how being one name, one face, and one brand can all together form a pop culture map of the world. And it all started from that date, the 28th of October 2025. Let's dive into the story deeper, more real, and more human. A new era begins. But who now? The fashion world never really sleeps. But in recent years, Calvin Klein has increasingly stagnated. The brand, which was once a pioneer of modern minimalism in the style of the 90 seconds, began to lose its explosive power amid the rapid flow of social media. Streetwear trends, luxury hybrids, to fast fashion dominate, making Calvin Klein's classic identity like losing talking space, until finally, in early 2025, a new strategy began to be drawn up. However, there are a few things to consider to redefine Calvin Klein's identity to be in tune with the new world. And in the middle of those creative meetings, one name always came up on the idea board: Jungkook. Who is he? For the past decade, Jungkook has been a figure of not just performance, but authentic emotion. While many brands are looking for faces that can excite their Gen Z and young millennial audiences, Jungkook emerged as a universal code called cross-generational, cross-national, and cross-cultural. Calvin Klein is aware that a major update is not enough just with a new design or music collection. They are still important, new, someone who can make people feel it's not just clothes, but self-appearance. And that's where Jungkook comes in, bringing an aura of calm that is mysterious but causes curiosity. The October 28 campaign is designed not only to showcase the clothing collection, but also to present the story behind it. In an internal leak, the concept is called Core Revealed. Bottom line, get back to the core, to the purpose of being yourself. A very philosophy. Jungkook. But the why now thinking also has a business dimension. The year 2025 is a transitional period for global brands that are shifting their focus to Asian markets, especially Korea and Japan, two of the most dynamic fashion markets today. Calvin Klein is not to be missed. By becoming the main face of momentum this October, Jungkook not only collaborates, but also opens up the dominance of the Asian market in one big step. Secret studio in Seoul. And planned plans. Not many know, but behind Calvin Klein's enduring sales, there's been intense activity in Seoul over the past few weeks. Creative teams from New York and London went back and forth to Korea, presenting a photo studio located in the Seongsu area, a place now known as Seoul's Brooklyn. It was there that Jungkook thanked the photography lovers with the world's top photography. Industry sources mention names like Mert and Marcus and Inez and Vinud are all in the same location. It is one of the most used styles by designers to create a more modern look. Some insiders mentioned that this time the campaign will not only come in the form of photos, but also a 3-minute short film that will air simultaneously globally. The film is shot in a documentary artistic style, showing Jungkook in real situations, walking alone on Seoul's night streets, sitting on the roof of a building looking up at the sky, speaking in a reflective narrative. "It's not about what you wear, it's about what's left when you take it off," said one source, closing in on the possibility of the film. Calvin Klein. It's no longer about body or sensation. It's about beauty and identity. And, if true, it will become one of the most iconic trends of the modern fashion era, an achievement between fashion philosophy, visual art, and human stories. Not just a campaign, but a world change. In today's era, brands are no longer just selling products. They sell because. And Calvin Klein seems to have experienced that for a long time. But through community building this time, they take on more responsibility for realizing the relationship between people, business, and culture. Jungkook was chosen not because of his fame, but because of his connection to reality. It has a balance between global appeal and emotional depth. When he spoke, not without words, the world heard him. Calvin Klein knows it well. In this burgeoning world, search can be the most powerful language. So do not be surprised if the date October 28 is not just a collection launch. This could be the day the world sees a new version of Calvin Klein, more human, more honest, but still elegant. A momentum that brings the end of an old era and the beginning of something new. Therefore, to be timeless, brands like Calvin Klein must strive to do one of the most important things, to be different when everyone looks the same. This campaign has a secret name in internal, the core unfolded. The word core is not just a style buzzword, but the core of Calvin Klein's new direction. If in the past this brand was attached to sensuality and rebellion, now they want to talk about authenticity, about what is left behind all the layers. The design of the collection follows that philosophy. Simple pieces, but with a high technical structure, environmentally friendly materials, and neutral colors that represent balance. But the most interesting thing is how they put that philosophy together with Jungkook's figure. He doesn't just become a model, he becomes a visual narrator. That is, his face and expression will become a metaphor for a change in brand identity. In one of the leaks from the creative team, it was mentioned that the campaign is built like the chapters in a short film. The mirror, the weight, the light, and the return. Each piece features Jungkook in scenes that are not directly related to fashion, but to human feelings: doubt, reflection, serenity, and freedom. Calvin Klein wants to remind the world that fashion is not just about what you wear, but also about who you are when you don't wear anything. This is not a vulgar statement, it's about the philosophy of honesty. Jungkook was chosen because he was able to radiate that meaning without having to talk much. As he stands still in front of the camera, something feels alive, and that's the whole point of the core unfolded. The campaign is also believed to be a new blueprint for all of CK's digital fashion projects going forward, combining live action, CGI, and AI interaction for immersive experiences on their official website. So it's not just an advertisement, but a personal journey that the public can follow interactively. There's a reason this project is so closed. According to reports from Korean media, Jungkook and the Calvin Klein team went through the process of filming and shooting for 2 whole weeks in Seongsu-dong, Seoul. The location is known as the cradle of many international fashion campaigns because of its industrial but warm atmosphere. One of the witnesses said that the studio was heavily guarded. Even the delivery of tools was carried out late at night to avoid the media spotlight. Everyone involved signs a high-level confidentiality agreement. But from the leaked snippets of information, one interesting thing was revealed. The shooting set was designed to resemble an infinite white space, describing the blank space of identity, a place where a person strips off all labels and returns to being himself. Jungkook reportedly appeared in various scenes without the help of a body double, performing all the expressions and movements that describe the inner journey himself. The director of this campaign is even called the one who once dealt with Chanel and Saint Laurent commercials, a sign of how seriously Calvin Klein is packing this project. But the most stunning thing is when rumors say that there is one scene where Jungkook walks in the middle of artificial rain, then looks at the camera while saying in a quiet voice, "It's not about the brand, it's about what remains." The phrase instantly became a symbol in the world of fashion, a phrase that unites between man and fashion, between product and soul. As soon as news of the new campaign spread, the reaction from the global fashion industry was overwhelming. Media such as Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, to Business of Fashion wrote long analyses of Calvin Klein's new direction. They called it the Jungkook Effect 2. In 2023, Jungkook has set a record with his debut campaign that increased Calvin Klein's website traffic by 250%. But now, the expectations are much greater. Many experts say that this update is not just about sales, but about cultural positioning, how Calvin Klein asserts itself as a brand that is able to adapt to the values of the new generation: balance, introspection, and authenticity. In Tokyo, digital billboards in Shibuya have started showing cryptic teasers with the words CK2 8JK. In New York, Times Square billboards play dark visuals in white with a cryptic voice narration of a man suspected to be Jungkook. And in Paris, Calvin Klein store on Rue Saint-Honoré will reportedly shut down operations for 2 days in preparation for a global launch. All this creates the impression that the October 28 launch will be not just a campaign release, but a synchronous global cultural event in different cities of the world. Almost all of the campaign visuals involving Jungkook have the same pattern: silence, long gazes, and empty space around him. That's not a coincidence. Calvin Klein consciously made silence a new aesthetic language. Because in the midst of a world full of digital noise, silence actually feels brave, Jungkook is a symbol of controlled silence. He doesn't need to say much to get the world to notice him. In an interview with GQ Korea, Jungkook said, "Sometimes you don't have to express everything, just exist sincerely." This sentence seems to be the emotional cornerstone of CK's campaign this time. So don't be surprised if the short film that will be released later will probably not have a lot of dialogue. Only music, footsteps, breath, and gaze. But from there, the audience can feel the whole story. This is the cinematic power Calvin Klein wanted to create, not with words, but with silences that speak louder than anything. The date was not just the launch of a new collection. According to some industry insiders, Calvin Klein chose October 28 because of its symbolic significance. 28 is Jungkook's date of birth, September 1, 1997, and the number is believed to carry the energy of reincarnation and resurrection in numerology. It's like a hidden message that this campaign is a rebirth not only for Calvin Klein, but also for Jungkook's image as a global icon. In terms of strategy, the date was also chosen because it is adjacent to the end-of-the-year holiday season, which means that this campaign will be a bridge to the release of the Spring 2026 collection. In this way, Calvin Klein builds not only emotional momentum, but also economic momentum. And by all signs, it looks like they're gearing up for something even bigger, possibly the first global immersive fashion show publicly accessible through their digital platform. Imagine a fashion show where the audience can choose a camera angle, interact with Jungkook's visuals in real time, and even buy products directly from the screen. All of this illustrates how Calvin Klein not only updated the campaign, but also rebuilt the way the world interacts with fashion. From all the layers of this story, one thing is clear. This update of the Calvin Klein campaign is not just a commercial affair. It's a cultural statement, an art experiment, and a business strategy fused in one narrative. Jungkook is no longer just a face on a billboard, but the soul of Calvin Klein's new philosophy. He changed the meaning of fashion icon to something more human, more reflective, and more real. And so, when October 28 comes, and the world's screens show the short film for the first time, perhaps we will not only see clothing ads, we will witness a journey about the meaning of being yourself in the midst of a changing world. Because behind every cloth, every stitch, and every look Jungkook glances at the screen, Calvin Klein is saying one thing: this is fashion that is not only worn, but felt.